Welcome back into the Devy Dojo. I am your host, Chris the Cardman, aka the Devy Shifu, and as always, I have my co-host here, Dustin, aka the Sensei. How are you doing today, Dustin?
Doing well, man. We got a special guest on tonight, man. I'm just super excited to get this show on.
Yeah, we do have a special guest, as you can see here at the bottom of our screen, one of the best people in the business, Mr. Chev, the legendary ball knower. How are you doing today, Chev? Thanks for coming on.
Man, you know me, brother. Any day on this side of dirt's a good one.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having the ball knowledge here today. Episode 4,
I would like to make an addendum, though.
Absolutely.
For this episode today, just today only. So this is a Devy Dojo special. I'm going to be the legend Devy ball knower.
I like that. The legend Devy ball knower. Absolutely. We have taken a break. We did our tiers for the first 3 episodes, our black belt tiers, yellow belt, purple belt, all the fun belt tiers.
Episode, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We've got a lot of good feedback, and we love doing that. We are diving into a aspect of Devy content that I feel is a little bit underrated, which is trusting your training. You spend all this time in the dojo, you spend all this time doing research on players, and then they make it to the NFL, and sometimes you never think about them again because it's Devy and you're thinking about the next man up. But you have to trust the knowledge that you have and the work that you've done in the past. So we want to touch on some players who are in the NFL, have been in the NFL, and have had limited opportunities so far. So we've got a nice little roster of players that we each handpicked for you today to discuss, including our very first one coming up right now, Michael Penix. We got to start hot with a quarterback, of course. And this is a guy who, as we all know, only saw a limited amount of starts last year for Atlanta after being taken 8th overall. And Dustin, I believe this was your pick, correct? So dive us in on Michael Penix and why you're looking forward to the future for him.
Oh, man. You know, I've been a Michael Penix guy for a while. So when we were talking about this episode, I knew right away that the guy that I had to talk about was a guy who was never really supposed to even make it this far. I mean, when you go back and look at his time in college, we're talking about a guy who had 3 straight season-ending injuries at the University of Indiana. I want you guys to think about just the mental toll that has to take with the rehab, the doubt. He probably had people around him telling him to hang it up, right? And at some point, you have to wonder, how do you even justify coming back to a game that's done nothing but beat your body down? And Penix, to his credit, is he kept fighting. And that's something no model, that's something no algorithm can quantify, which is the heart. He talked about that, if you guys remember, pre-draft process. He's like, the only medical study you need on me is the EKG because I got that heart. So when he first transferred to Washington, he wasn't, in terms of like Devy artificial value, he wasn't some big buzzy Devy asset, right? He was a 3-star guy coming out of college with a major injury history. He had a big arm and some mobility, but he was never like that Konami quarterback, right? He could get you out of a jam. He would look down the field and make a play happen. His footwork was a little inconsistent. And even though he had that big arm, even though he could zip it, his accuracy was kind of up and down. So if you were doing a Devy startup back then, he wouldn't have even been drafted. And honestly, I would have told people to fade him. But what I didn't know back then, and what I've learned now, is that Michael Penix is the walking embodiment of what you go through molds you. He arrives at Washington with everything to prove. And in 2022, he goes nuclear. And I have to say, like if going back to 2019 at the University of Indiana, he had an offensive coordinator there by the name of Kalen DeBoer, right? So when Kalen DeBoer gets the head coaching job at Washington, the first person he brings with him is Michael Penix. So there at Washington, we know the story, how it went. His first year there, he went nuclear, 4,600 yards passing, 35 touchdowns. He showed complete command of that system. And then in 2023, that's when he really broke out, right? He comes back for his sixth season, nearly hits 5,000 passing yards. He wins the Maxwell Award. He's a Heisman finalist, and he leads Washington to that national championship. But the stat that really stood out to me was according to PFF, Penix led the country in big-time throws in both 2022 and 2023. He had 40 big-time throws in 2022 and 39 in 23. No other quarterback had more than 33 in either season.
Yeah, and he last year in the NFL beat all other quarterbacks, including the man himself, Josh Allen, at big-time throw rate. Obviously, a smaller percentage of games than a lot of those other quarterbacks, but reasons to be excited if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, especially after they gave all that money to Kirk just to ride the pine. Used the 8th overall pick on him, and he's coming out. He's showing you what he's got with that nice left arm cannon.
Yeah, I love it, man. There's just so much to be excited about. Like, small sample, like we said, but skipping ahead here a little bit is that final game that we got to see him in the NFL, right, against Carolina. He had 7 big-time throws just in that game. That's not normal. That's beyond elite status.
Love that.
So to just put it into perspective, yeah, it's only his 3rd game, but he was really in rhythm, and the timing that he showed with Drake London specifically should get you excited. But so the question going back is, looking at it through the Devy lens, was Penix an outlier, or was he a diamond in the rough that the community missed? For me, when I was looking back at it, once he was able to put 2 fully healthy seasons on tape, I saw everything that I needed to trust my training and trust that Michael Penix's skills were going to be able to translate to the NFL, because he was layering throws to all 3 levels. He was showing the touch, the anticipation. He's always had elite velocity. He showed all that, and so I knew, look, this guy. The only concern that we had for Michael Penix was health. He put up two straight healthy seasons. Man, I'm not worried. And the proof of concept to me, the game that I really look forward to, and I still go back to this day when I want to point out elite level throws from Michael Penix, is I go back to that Sugar Bowl game versus Texas.
Which we have on the screen here, yeah.
Yes. So they charted him just 3 big-time throws just in that game. He handled pressure like a vet, resetting platforms, climbing the pocket. He delivered those strikes, but it was his connection with Rome Odunze on multiple tough throws, including a few over the middle. He hit him on the deep shots, but this timing over the middle and layering it over linebackers was just beautiful. And that's the thing. What Penix showed in that game mirrors what we saw later with Drake London. Game on the line versus Oregon, he's going to throw a deep fade to Odunze. You're in a close shootout versus your rival Panthers, deep fade to London for a touchdown. It was the same confidence, that same chemistry, and the same belief in his alpha. So, I mean, it's only a 3-game sample, but how can you not look at that and say, okay, here's a guy that, based on his experience, is ready for the NFL. He knows how to handle the blitz. He knows his reads. He can throw it all over the yard, right? The only thing that, like, I kind of had some pause on was his throwing motion. If you've ever seen him, it's a little wonky, right? Like, he'll hold it
definitely
like this.
Wonky, yeah. You can't really tell from this picture, but as I was looking for pictures for the graphic, there's a lot of pictures of him kind of coming out a little cockeyed there. So it's a little, not to mention he's a lefty, so it doesn't always resonate with everybody.
What do you guys think about this comparison? He's a left-handed Phillip Rivers throwing motion.
I like it. I could see it.
Yeah, I could see it. And I mean, it is a wonky release, right? But it comes from his back. I don't know if you guys knew this, that he has a baseball background.
I
didn't know that, actually. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. He was a pitcher back going back to high school. But yeah, he has a pitching background, and that's where it kind of starts from. So he would whip it, and it almost looks like a pitcher coming down and throwing like that. He takes some of his mechanics to get his accuracy up. But yeah, I like that. A left-handed Rivers. It's interesting.
Yeah, I know Chev's one of the premier Drake London stands in the fantasy land right now, so I'm sure he's happy about what we saw from Penix last year.
What's wild is both of you guys have seen the evolution of where it started versus where we are now. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Michael Penix is such a huge pause. Michael Penix is a major factor in the way that I view Drake London because of the fact that Michael Penix has a Matthew Stafford-esque confidence in his ability to get the ball to his guys. You saw it at Washington. You're seeing it now in Atlanta with now the one thing that does concern me is he had zero rapport with Darnell Mooney. That's the only thing that really concerns me from an NFL perspective. I think that they'll figure that out. I think that Michael Penix he's got it in his head. I'm going to hyper target Drake London, which why would you not? Big, strong, fast, and possibly could lead the NFL in targets this year.
He had only 105 attempts last year with the Falcons. 8 of his passes were dropped in 105 attempts.
Yeah,
that just tells you about the rest of the supporting cast down there in Atlanta. Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to hyper focus on the one guy who can actually do it, the guy who we've been waiting on a breakout to happen, and it was finally happening with Penix. So I'm sure with a full season or full off season of some reps together under his belt, he'll definitely they'll both be great values, I think, at current ADP. I will say, though, that Mooney has some deep ball efficiency stats that are pretty high through his career. Yeah. So there's reason to be excited, especially in best ball. I'm snagging him up a little bit in best ball just because you never know. As these deep throws get more and more accurate and more shots in the dome, you never know what can happen.
Yeah. I mean, he was at almost 1,000 yards last year. So you've got nearly, well, let's just call it even and call it good. 2,000-yard receivers and a guy who supported 3,000-yard receivers at the University of Washington.
Yes.
And they're tailoring everything towards his skill set. They've had an offseason to build around what he does really well and accentuate that, and then kind of sweep under the rug. Because I mean, whenever you start a quarterback in the middle of the season, or at any point in the season when you switch quarterbacks, you've built an offense around the starter. Because why wouldn't you? You're planning on that guy,
course, yeah.
So you're learning on the fly. So with this offseason, we saw Zach Robinson as a capable play caller. We've seen Michael Penix demonstrate a willing, not only competence, but I would say some of the things that he's demonstrated are elite. Like they pretend to him being an elite passer of the football. And so I have the utmost confidence in Michael Penix. In one league, I actually traded. It was a part of a trade, but I swapped him and JJ McCarthy in the trade because I'm that bullish on Michael Penix moving forward.
I like that. I know we've had a lot of discussions in the group chat too about McCarthy and Penix, and they're both guys that I am targeting. And McCarthy's a guy who we have on our schedule today if we can get to him after a couple of these other guys. I do love Penix, though. I said in the Nateless dynastyrankings.com Discord right after all those bowl games last year, January 2024, I said, I know for a fact Penix is going to be a first-round pick. I didn't think he'd go as high as he did, but he just looks so good. And, you touched on it, Dustin, the heart that he displayed. He got better as the season went on. Obviously, he led him to a national championship game, but that's the kind of thing that NFL GMs notice. And we talk a lot about wanting guys to be younger as they come out of college. And, you got these guys in your Devy roster for a while sometimes, and you want them to be, 21, 22 when they hit the NFL. But in his case, I think all of his maturity and, the years of experience have actually made a bit of a benefit to him. So
absolutely. That was something I said. He's the embodiment of what you go through molds you. All the adversity that he faced, every trial, everything that he went through, every single injury that was season ending brought him to the point that he is today. And I just love that. Like his final season in Washington, the only knock that people could say about him was, well, we don't know how he handles pressure because Washington's O-line is just keeping him upright. He hasn't really faced any pressure. And then of course, we get to the Sugar Bowl game. Texas was getting home. Like they were applying pressure, and he was having to maneuver and manage the pocket in a way that we hadn't seen yet. And so when I saw that's another reason why it was part of my proof of concept game, the game that I went back to trust my training to see how could these skills translate. And it reminded me of CJ Stroud in his final year in college when he played the University of Georgia, right? And it was CJ Stroud's just a pocket passer. He has no mobility, kind of the same concerns. And you saw him move around and make those plays. And like, man, that's about as close to an NFL defense that you're going to get. So seeing these quarterbacks be able to answer these questions at one of the biggest stages just tells me everything that I need to know. And then, of course, he gets to Atlanta, and he's like, Atlanta did an amazing job of keeping him upright too. So we'll see if that continues this next year. Like, if you give this man time, he's going to carve you up. And he's flashed that arm arrogance, like you alluded, Chev. He's going to fit it. He doesn't care what window, double coverage. He trusts that arm, and he trusts his out for wide receivers. So it all equals out to fantasy points for your roster in the end. And you should be very excited that you get a full season of Michael Penix combined with Drake London.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to a big Penix year for sure.
Yeah. Massive Penix incoming.
Massive Penix year. Moving on, I picked Marshawn Lloyd as one of my guys. He's a guy who I have been really trying to target in trades lately. I made a couple of decent trades to get him before he inevitably breaks out. I think he's a guy who I liked a lot coming out of college at USC. Started his career at the other USC, South Carolina.
Yes.
And then we have his stats from his senior year here, or not senior year, his final year at USC. Didn't get a ton of touches. However, he did the most with those touches, as you can see, 116 carries, 820 yards, averaging out at 7.1 yards per carry for 9 touchdowns. Also added 13 receptions for 232 yards. He's a guy who I thought didn't necessarily get his receiving chops quite used as well as could have been used at USC. I think he's a guy who in the NFL might be able to be used a little bit more as a third down back kind of guy, keeping him on the field longer and scheming some routes to him. But definitely a guy with some great short bursts, somebody to be excited about. And Jacobs, everybody was predicting that Jacobs' fall off would come sooner or later after all those carries in Vegas. And now he transferred over to the Packers and basically dominated that backfield, partially because Lloyd was injured most of the year. I think there's going to be he's a guy who's going to rise up dynasty rankings this year because I think there's going to be more of a split. LaFleur has liked to split carries a lot more than we saw last year. And this is the guy who I believe is going to benefit the most here in 2025 up in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, if you were in on him before, you still got to be in on him now. He's another guy that really, I think the breakout was just delayed because of injury. I mean, you could go back to his freshman year and say the same thing. Like, he was a big time 5-star there for South Carolina. And I mean, I think he had the COVID year there too. So, I mean, the breakout was just limited. Went to USC, man. And as a Trojan fan, I really enjoyed his time there. I was thankful for everything that he did there. He had over 457 yards after contact, 3.97 yards per contact, or yards after contact per attempt. Like he was just he wasn't just a thumper. That's what I'm trying to say. He made the subtle reads. He's a very patient runner, like just everything that you want out of a back. I very famously comped him to Aaron Jones at the time pre-draft, just a little bit of an angrier Aaron Jones. So, I mean, if he gets opportunity, man, it's wheels up for him. I mean, Josh Jacobs, something about those volume backs, man, like eventually the tires fall off a little bit, unfortunately. And I think it's always good to have that other back paired there. And if you get one of those nice outside zone schemes that they run there, man, get a back like this, he's going to thrive in that system.
Man, he's had a tough road to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a professional so far, but I think it gets lost on people the type of back that he was. And you don't really have any NFL footage to point to besides the preseason game, where you guys saw that run. It was jarring how agile and sudden he was, and so you pointed to the fact that Matt LaFleur likes to use 2 running backs. There was no one else for Josh Jacobs to be threatened by, and I don't think he's a threat. I think that he just kind of fits into an AJ Dillon touch count kind of role, but I think he could do a lot more with it than AJ Dillon ever thought about doing. And so that's one of the things. I mean, we did have a season where AJ Dillon caught like 36 passes. If Marshawn Lloyd catches 36 passes, he's going to be inside the top 30 running backs, most likely, if he's healthy. If
yeah,
we get 30,
he would be way more efficient. He would be way
Yeah.
more efficient than AJ
if
Dillon.
we get 30 receptions from Marshawn Lloyd this year, he's going to be inside the top 30 running backs from a fantasy perspective. I really believe that. And I think that offense is good enough to support two running backs, Josh Jacobs finishing anywhere from 5 to 14, and then him finishing inside the top 30 and having a few spike weeks because he is such an explosive back. So I really like Marshawn Lloyd. I like his ability. I like his suddenness. That's the biggest thing to me that kind of you alluded to it with like a more angry Aaron Jones, but it's just because he's so agile and he's very he's so compact. The way that he's built just lends itself, like you watch him move, and it kind of, this is going to sound ridiculous, but as a collegian, he and Bucky Irving move very similarly, like in space, just the way that it's such a violent change of direction. But Marshawn Lloyd's 220.
Right.
So that's just, again, I'm not saying that he's Bucky Irving. I'm saying that they have a very similar movement skill set, but Marshawn Lloyd is 220. All that to say, I think Marshawn Lloyd could be very, very good as an NFL player, but he's almost a forgotten man in every single format because of how good Josh Jacobs was last year. So really excited to see what he does. I'm glad that we got to talk about this because I didn't realize how much I liked Marshawn Lloyd, but now I'm about to go send some.
That's what we're here for, man. That's why I wanted to put him on here. We got to trust our training. He's a guy who I drafted a lot last year. He was pretty cheap to acquire. I think his ADP was roughly the back half of the second round in rookie drafts last year. So you could have, snagged him there if you liked him. And I've got him sitting on a few rosters, and I've added some more since. I think he's going to be one of the breakout guys of the 2025 season in fantasy football. I like what we've seen. Now, the big thing, of course, was fumbles was an issue for him. And I'm sure you know that as a USC fan, Dustin. But we talked a little bit pre-show about the importance of coaching and coaching staffs. And I think that if there's one staff that you can trust to make sure that he's holding on to the damn ball, it's going to be the LaFleur staff up there in Packerland.
Yeah.
They're going to tell him, hey, quit holding that ball. So just get that thing tight to your chest, hold it tight, and don't let those linebackers watch your college tape and start swatting at you.
I blame Miller Moss a lot too on some of those RPOs. He didn't know if he wanted to pull it, keep it. I mean, he definitely had his issues too, but I attribute a lot of those to Miller Moss, and thank God Miller Moss is no longer a Trojan. We've moved on, but that's not for today.
Right. I know that he's reports early on. It's not training camp yet, but mini camp, they're saying he's looking good. I mean, those cheeseheads up there, they got nothing else to do but watch football and think about the Packers. So they're going to be getting hyped about their guys, but they're hyped about this one.
He was a 5-star for a reason. I mean, athletically, he's got all the giftings. I mean, there's a reason for that. So excited to see him put it all together.
I agree. Cedric Tillman, we're moving to the wide receiver position. We have him on the screen. I got a nice picture of his behind end here. And I put up his stats from 2021, which was his breakout year, his junior year at Tennessee, and his last full year in college. He's a little bit of an outlier even on this conversation because he has had a couple years in the NFL, and we have seen some flashes from him. But he's still a guy who's undervalued by a lot of players in Dynasty land. So he's a guy who I'm happy that you picked, Chev.
Man, so one of our Discord buddies, shout out to Swerve, is a big Tennessee fan, and I really I can't stand the University of Tennessee, but I really respect his opinion. And so we were talking about guys that could potentially be, last round selections for best ball. And he mentioned Cedric Tillman. And I remembered how good Cedric Tillman was in college, how good you knew where he was lining up at. And you were like, he was just able to win deep down the field and in. Chris is throwing me off.
My bad, I dropped something.
You throw me off. I was like, where did I was looking at
Vanish for a second.
I was looking at some notes I got on Cedric Tillman, and I looked back at the screen and there was just no Chris. So that messed me up.
That's when you ascend, once you've reached Shifu level of dojo training, you can just vanish in thin air.
That's wicked. You're like the Ra's al Ghul of Devy. That's wild. But no, Cedric Tillman is such a unique guy because he's big, strong, fast. I think that you saw once he got the full-time role last year in Cleveland, he was able to as soon as he was able to just line up outside at X and run a majority of the routes. You had a stretch where he was a wide receiver 1 overall. Now that point's been beat over the head, but what doesn't get remembered is just he was a wide receiver 1 overall and he was commanding an equal target share to Jerry Jeudy. So Jerry Jeudy, famously broke out against the Saints in the Superdome, but Cedric Tillman had 8 targets that game. He had 5. I think he had 5 targets in the game that ended his season against Pittsburgh, where he got the concussion. And so I think that the plans are definitively for him to be a major part of the offense this year. And if we had clarity of situation at quarterback, they had a quarterback, Cedric Tillman's price would be a lot higher. But you're getting the benefit of being able to buy the uncertainty with how cheap he is. I just finished a video where I talked about Cedric Tillman's price currently in Fast Draft being like pick 141, and he's a free space to an alpha level talent. It reminds me a lot of what Nico Collins. I mean, you guys remember how much I used to talk about Nico Collins, but how like the similar situation. So, but we just need some clarity as far as who the quarterback is. And I think you'll get a true breakout, a much longer stretch than just 3 weeks of Cedric Tillman being good at American tackle football.
I like that comp as far as, his current career trajectory. Nico obviously was a guy who took a little bit of time for him to become the superstar that he is now. Who knows if we'll see that out of Tillman, but he's somebody to be excited about. He was not only the wide receiver 1 from week 7 to 9 last year, he was the fantasy player number 1 in points per game over those weeks. Out of everybody in fantasy, he was the number 1 player. So it's a real shame they didn't re-sign Jameis.
Yeah, that's the sick part is like, man, y'all know y'all gonna be sorry. Just like be fun and sorry. Like who? hey, it's not the
Jameis
record.
Is fun, man.
Yeah, it's not the
Jameis
record that matters.
Gig, man. He should be starting every year for somebody.
It's the fantasy wide receiver 1 performances we got from Cedric Tillman along the way. Like, who cares if you went 4-13, guys? Just give us 17 games of Jameis.
They're gonna do it every year anyway. They play in the AFC North, man. It's over.
That's what I'm saying. Fun. Like, Jameis is gonna give you a chance to win a few games that, give you some hope. But y'all are gonna suck good enough to get like a real franchise quarterback, and you can just get you a real franchise quarterback. But let us have fun. Like,
they're gonna have 2. They're gonna have 2 picks in 26. 2 first-round picks in 26.
They got 2 franchise quarterbacks sitting there now. Dylan Gabriel and
oh wow.
I'm just joking.
Oh wow.
He said Dylan Gabriel.
He said Dylan Gabriel with his whole chest.
Wow.
I know the reception perception on Tillman said that last year he had a 70.2% success rate versus man coverage as well. So, I mean, he's a guy who's definitely a breakout waiting to happen. In fact, I wasn't super big on him coming out of college. I should have been.
Of course
I was more of a Hyatt guy. But I think before we even publish this episode, I'm probably going to start sending out some offers so that nobody hears this before they're going to be mad after they trade him to me and then listen to this.
Dude, so in a startup before we move on, in a startup, I got a buddy who's a huge University of Tennessee fan, and we co-manage a team. And he was like, man, we need to take Cedric Tillman. And that's 0.75 tight end premium, and it's like the 13th or 14th round. And he's like, man, we need to take Cedric Tillman. And I'm like, nah, man, we need to take Ben Sinnott. And I'm trolling him. But like, so we're rotating picks, so it's my pick. And he was like, hey, let's take Cedric Tillman. And I was like, nah, let's take Ben Sinnott. And I just keep trolling him. And then I eventually picked Ben Sinnott. because I was like, man, I'm a big Ben Sinnott guy. Yeah. And I was like, Cedric Tillman will come back. And so Cedric Tillman didn't come back. And I was like, man, I really should have stopped trolling and just taken Cedric Tillman. I like Ben Sinnott a lot, but I am very, very convinced that Cedric Tillman is going to
We should have had Sinnott on this show sheet. I didn't do any research on him, but he's a guy who I'm trying. I just made a trade. I told you prior to this. I traded Breece Hall for Judkins and Sinnott about a month ago, which was really poor timing. But in those deeper, 2 tight end premium leagues, he's a guy I'm excited about still. I know the joke is that he was a fullback and yada, yada, yada.
Fullback, yeah.
It feels a lot like the McBride situation where, Cliff Kingsbury is just going to use Ertz till the wheels fall off, and then Sinnott's going to get his chance. And I know in the game last year where Ertz wasn't around, he ran all of Ertz's routes and had a decent game. So it's coming, man. It's coming.
Yeah. No, we could spend some time on Sinnott if y'all want to, because I am very bullish on what I think that he's going to be.
I'm totally.
I mean, you guys know how I feel. You guys know how I feel about Sinnott. Like I'm right there with him too. So
it feels good to have people to feel like there's still people that believe, because it's like we just did this. We did this with Dallas Goedert, and then we did it again with Trey McBride, and then we did it again, and now we're doing it again. People were like, "Oh, well, he's not good. He couldn't beat out Zach Ertz, and Zach Ertz isn't even good." It's like, man,
Zach Ertz is good.
Yes, he's very good.
He's still good. People don't think he's good because he's old, but I mean, he's still a good tight end.
Yes, it's really dumb to think that just because he's old, he's not good. You've seen him be good for a very long time. You saw him be good enough to keep. You see what Trey McBride is. The Cardinals saw what Trey McBride was for a year and a half in practice. And Zach Ertz was better than that to be able to keep the job. So, and now we're talking about Trey McBride being the second best or, first best.
My
the
preferred
best
target, definitely.
Yeah.
ADP.
With, so let's not just throw the baby out with the bathwater on Ben Sinnott. I don't want to do that yet.
Trust your training, man. He's a guy you can get really cheap right now. Go get him. Don't be as
people are
insane
so
as I
quick.
was.
People are so quick to move on from these guys, and tight end's a position that I know all of us have preached this. It not only takes a while to break out, like they also can play well into their 30s.
This is all Sam Laporta's fault. If Laporta and then Bowers didn't break out, people would be still thinking,
more reasonable.
It takes a little while with these rookie tight ends.
Dude, so
yeah, they expect that to be the norm now.
So with Ben, like with guys like with Ben Sinnott and these guys you're waiting on them. Travis Kelce didn't have 1,000-yard season until he's 27. Like you can't write him off.
That is crazy to think back, but I do remember those days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Evan Silva being like, he's the next breakout.
Yeah. So
now
I mean,
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, like just trust your training. Be patient. Don't give up on these guys. If you find someone who is low on a player that you really, really liked, and they're just like, oh yeah, whatever, and then you just throw them in a trade. Now, it always, for smart dynasty owners and Devy players, it always sets off an alarm if you just send a random pick to try to get a guy. They'll almost like pearl clutch and shut you down.
It's like, nah, what does he know?
Yeah.
When that happens to me, I'm immediately on Twitter. I'm like, I'm typing this guy's name in right now. What happened?
It's wild that we all have the same thought. Like, wait, hold on a minute.
Wait a minute. What am I missing here? Yeah. Gotta get one over on me. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to try to strategize, put him in as a bigger offer. Like, oh, maybe I'll tear down off one guy.
Sneak him in.
Yeah.
Chris, before we move on, did I hear you say that you were a Jalen Hyatt guy over Cedric Tillman?
That may be true.
I heard that too.
I still got a lot of Hyatt. I play in a lot of best ball leagues because God knows I don't want to set 300 lineups every Sunday, which I do anyway, especially if you ask my wife. But I've been waiting, man. I'm still waiting. I'll take him.
Yeah.
He's sitting on some of my rosters. He's got that deep threat ability, fast guy.
Yeah, maybe if they move the hash marks a little bit like college and just put him out there.
That was a miss.
That was such a weird year.
Devy life.
that was such a weird year because I mean Cedric Tillman obviously was hurt. And if you go back to the year before, like Cedric Tillman was just dunking on dudes. He was incredible. So like we've been saying, trust that training, look back at the tape. And I think just to kind of connect the dots and tie this up before we move on, week 7 through 9, like we said, that really showcased what he looked like in 2021. He had the 26 catches, nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in just 3 games. Just incredible. And that's everything that he showed as a wide receiver 1 back in 2021 for the University of Tennessee, as we know. The reason why I was so big on him in the 2023 draft is because that was a draft filled with a bunch of short king wide receivers, and he was really the standout kind of like alpha build type of guy. So I was really big on him because I was like, well, he's just big. He's got the massive frame. I liked his spot in Cleveland just because of the ambiguity. I mean, he did have Amari Cooper there at the time, but I mean, the writing was just on the wall for how they wanted to use him. So, I mean, he's now showed it too in the NFL, what he can do. He's just got to stay healthy. Like the concussion thing is a little concerning to me. Just any type of head trauma is always scary. And the fact that he didn't play for a while after that just did raise some red flags. But I mean, overall, I'm not too concerned. And if it drops his price even more, then I'm happily buying. Like he's a guy that I got for free in so many leagues. Like he went undrafted in a lot of leagues.
I'm convinced that Flacco is going to be sitting on the bench week 1 and Kenny Pickett's going to start, which is going to be bad for everybody in Cleveland. But if that's the case, that's another buying opportunity, right? Start grabbing those guys early. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation in the first month of the football season. So grab them while you can.
Sure.
Man, there's a generational buying opportunity with Cedric Tillman right now. Like, this is how you accumulate. This is Bitcoin in 2013.
I love it. Like I said, I'm going to be sending out some offers probably tonight, right as soon as we log off. So if you're listening to this after I fleeced you for Tillman, I'm sorry. Moving on, I wanted to talk about another quarterback, and we alluded to this earlier. There's been a lot of discourse lately about J.J. McCarthy, and he's a guy who I didn't like coming out of college. I've had to actively work to get a few shares because I didn't have many. I think I picked up a couple orphans that might have had him, and I'm looking forward to seeing how things go for him now with the reins in his hands. And most of my confidence, honestly, comes from what Darnold showed us last year. I think that is a situation with a great coaching staff, a great offense, unbelievable talent around him, of course, and then he's going to play the majority of his games in a dome, much like Penix. So I have a lot of bullishness on him as a fantasy asset, but I wasn't necessarily big on him coming out of college. And I know that there's there's a lot of dichotomy there. Some people really, really liked him coming out of college. Some people didn't like him coming out of college. For me, he never was a 3,000-yard passer, which raises some red flags. He showed off his big arm in college, but when you have a guy as smart as Harbaugh, and I know everybody says, oh, it's the Harbaugh mentality, it's what Harbaugh wanted to do, and they won a national title, so you can't blame him. But also, when you have a coach that's smart, he's going to be playing to his assets. He's going to be building around the team that he knows is best and managing it best. So that had led me to be a little bit more of a pause on him coming out, especially in that good quarterback class. So I am bullish on him this year, but I don't know that I'm bullish on him long term. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, look, he's a guy that can make every throw when he's asked to. He's shown that ability. He can layer it. He has a nice big arm. I think that's not talked about enough. I know he really got some people's attention at the combine with the velocity measurement. I forget the miles per hour that he threw the ball. I think it was 60 or something. It was right under what Josh Allen set the record. So really raised some eyes and put some people onto him. But I mean, like you said, I had questions too, that if he was really this generational talent, like people, University of Michigan fans talked about, why didn't he pass more? Like, yeah, sure, they had Blake Corum, right? They had a great offensive line, great defense. You don't have to do it. So it always begs the question, are they hiding something? Are they building a team to where he doesn't have to put them in these situations? He never really had to bring them from behind. So it does raise those questions. And then we haven't seen him in the NFL. Right. We have one preseason game where admittedly he looked really good. But I mean, it's the preseason and they're not game planning for you. Like they're not sending these exotic blitzes, anything like that. And unfortunately, he went down with injury. And now it's almost like the community is just pigeonholing him in for a top 10 quarterback season because, well, Sam Darnold, who was a really, really good prospect and a really good player, was able to do it. So anybody could do it because effing Sam Darnold was able to do it. And I'm a little hesitant. Yes, he has weapons. However, we still have too many questions for me to be confident and say locked in top 10 fantasy asset. I'm not so sure. And Chev, I know you got a lot of thoughts on this, so I'm gonna turn it over to you now.
The face
I like your little.
He's making. I know he was just on that hot take episode, which was one of my favorite pods I listened to recently, talking about JJ.
It was fun.
We gotta hear him on this one.
So, first and foremost, allow me to thank the Academy of Haters for being the biggest hater on that episode. I practice it and I practice what I preach, and I'm about to start hating real good right now. So with JJ McCarthy, the issue with me is, yes, you see all the tools, but unlike some of the more seasoned prospects, a guy who went, a few picks ahead of him and Michael Penix, you don't have the throws on tape or the throws on file in different situations. And not just the throws, but the reactions, the things that make a quarterback that has it lead teams to fourth quarter comeback victories, and they're relaxed and loose in the most, pressure packed situations. That we've seen those things from Michael Penix on multiple occasions in multiple stages, along with all the physical talent. JJ McCarthy is, from a physical gift standpoint, he's an elite prospect, but I need to see his makeup between the ears. I need to see what it takes. I know that he has the wheels. I know that he has the arm. I know that he has the pedigree being a national champion. I know that KOC has supported other quarterbacks that don't have those tools, like a Nick Mullins, to be fantasy reliable and give you some streamable weeks. And so if that's what we're buying into, that's what we're buying into. I think the fool's errand is to assume that JJ McCarthy is going to come out and duplicate what Kirk Cousins was on pace to do prior to tearing his Achilles. Kirk Cousins being a seasoned veteran and understanding the ins and outs and the what to do and what not to do in an NFL offense. And we still, no matter how good JJ McCarthy is, having not taken NFL snaps, that's something that he's going to have to overcome unless he's the literal greatest quarterback of all time. So which one do you think he falls more into the bucket, like likely bucket of things to happen?
Another greatest really quarterback came from Michigan. I don't know.
He could. Yeah. Hey, how does that make you feel as a Penn State fan?
It doesn't make me feel good, but okay. I hate Ohio State more, so it's kind of like we both hate Ohio State. We have a mutual love there.
Wow. Okay. That's some serious cousin hugging right there going on. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. So
I'm with you. I didn't like it after I said it.
Yeah.
So, but in all seriousness though, it's just the fact that we're aggressive. We're so aggressive with our projections for JJ McCarthy that we're going to, if he doesn't hit, let's just say
his over under right now, like 3,600 yards or something on DraftKings.
Yeah. And if he doesn't hit that,
he never even doesn't hit that
in college. Yeah. And if he doesn't hit that, what does that do to his artificial dynasty value that we always talk about?
I think
it's going to plummet. Crater. It's going to crater because that's what the community has shown that they will do. If you have somebody with high expectations and the production is not relative to those expectations, their value craters. I was told that Marvin Harrison is not a good wide receiver anymore because he put up 800 yards and 8 touchdowns as a rookie. Very eerily similar numbers to his Hall of Fame father. But, because he came in with these expectations as a generational talent and he didn't match that production wise.
Dude,
now we fade him.
What first ballot Hall of Fame receiver he had more receiving yards than as a rookie?
Give it to me.
Calvin Johnson.
I like that stat. Speaking of Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are so reactionary and in the moment as a community that you need to remember to trust your training.
So let me ask you guys this as a NFL portion of the Devy, the Devy roster construction, or just a general ADP question rather. Do you think that his fall would be the same, less, or more than how CJ Stroud fell in Dynasty after a disappointing 2024 from a fantasy perspective?
Well, CJ Stroud was what, like quarterback
QB like
5?
6.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to compare when the expectations were that high, but
that high, yeah.
You're right. Like, I mean, McCarthy does have some sneaky wheels, maybe more so than Stroud. So there's going to be a little bit of a floor to play with. It's just where's, I kind of see my current JJ McCarthy stocks as a stock market. So if there's a couple big weeks early on in the season, I might be looking to flip him because of the trust in the training, because I didn't necessarily believe in him the most. So if you can make advantage of that, especially if you're on a rebuilding roster or something, you're focused on the future and you want to take advantage of somebody giving you some assets and selling them high, I mean, you got to do it, right?
Yeah.
And
go
ahead, Chev.
He'd be a tier up piece for sure for me. And getting off to a really fast start would just increase that value. And people would, that drum beat would get real loud, real fast. You might be able to print some money there because you're unloading an asset that you're unsure about. He's a, people are treating him like he's a black belt, but he's really a purple belt, or a blue belt. Yeah. Blue belt. Let's go blue belt. Yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking to Dustin the other day about trying to tear down from Stroud to maybe somebody like a Penix or a McCarthy. Because I feel like that's the buying opportunity right now.
Yeah. I would do it for either. I could do it for either one of those guys, and then whatever
or Bryce Young. We talked a little bit pre-show about how we like the Panthers this year.
22 points a game over those last 10 weeks.
Yeah.
He's one that I thought about putting in here.
I would love.
I said Bryce Underwood, Bryce Young.
Hell, let's go. Like we could talk about some Bryce Young.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to talk about.
I'm excited for Bryce Young. Yeah,
right. The dude that he was doing in that amazing final game of the season was Bryce Young, like doing his Steph Curry, like look back, like I got it celebration. It's incredible. That was Bama Bryce. That's Bama Bryce right there.
Oh my god,
he's such an easy guy to like too, man. I just love watching him play football because you can tell he loves the game. That's the kind of guy you want to root for.
Well, there's something that I always talk about, like even Penix, when I said he's the embodiment of what you go through molds you. There's something that the intangible aspect when I'm scouting these quarterbacks, I like to see them go through some stuff. I like to see them hit a little bit of adversity and see how you can overcome it, just because the position naturally is so cerebral and you have those moments like where you threw a pick six and then you got to get back out there. What does your mental makeup look like and how are you going to overcome that adversity? And going back to JJ McCarthy, he's a guy that I haven't really seen any adversity up until this point. So I want to see how he handles it. You go back to Bryce Young. I mean, easy for most of his life. The number one recruit coming out of high school, committed to Bama, started right away, put up great numbers. Like it was pretty easy for him. Number one overall pick. And then the adversity came in the NFL. Then he gets benched and we're like, man, Andy Dalton's taken over. It's over for Bryce. But it wasn't, because he didn't let that be the final chapter of his story.
Dude, he's so mentally. You realize? I don't think people realize how difficult it is for someone with that pedigree. Heisman Trophy winner, former number one overall recruit, number one overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, to benched. So imagine somebody them calling it like an all hands meeting at your office. If you work in an office, let's say that there's like 100 people in there, and then they call you up in front of everybody and they're like, hey man, you're fired. Like how embarrassing that would be. Now take that and multiply it 1,000-fold. That's what happened to Bryce Young. And he responded.
Almost unnecessary. I mean, I know he wasn't great, but that everybody, I think at the time, was going, why would they do this, man? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he responded perfectly.
Yeah. He responded in a way that makes me believe that he's going to be a very successful quarterback at the NFL level. And it's just a matter of them going from completely failing him as an organization, which we've seen absolutely destroy some really good talents. You know, I won't say it destroyed Justin Fields, but we talked about that before the show, where it was like, man, it's really unfortunate if you get terrible coaching and terrible organizational support. What it makes a quarterback look like that very clearly has the tools to succeed. So Bryce Young, to me, has all the tools to succeed. He had the mental makeup that you want. You saw him in tough environments deliver time and time again. He played a legendary Georgia defense to nearly a draw for 3 quarters before the wheels fell off in the national championship, with no John Mechie and no Jamison Williams throwing checkdowns to Brian Robinson Jr. That was how he kept them in the game. So I've seen enough from Bryce Young to believe that what we saw the back half of the season, weeks 8 to 18, where he was 22 points a game, I believe that that's going to be more of the norm. Now, he did have an outlier rushing touchdown count. He had 6 rushing touchdowns, but even if that goes away, I think he's going to be close to 4,000 yards and between 24 to 30 touchdowns. That's what I think.
I like it. And then they finally gave him an alpha receiver too. So he's getting the support he needs. You know, Thielen's still pretty good. You know, he's overall there, but now he's got a dog to throw to, and he's going to have all off season to kind of recalibrate, relearn everything, you know, from the ground up, and come out here and show us what he's made of.
Yeah.
Outside of the weapons, we've got an offensive environment that's conducive for his success now in Dave Canales. Like, that's a guy that I fully trust to put him in the right situations. Yes. And you mentioned like getting Tet McMillan now. I'm over the moon for that, because you got a coach who spent some time with a guy named Mike Evans. You know, he's pretty good over there. And I'm not saying Tet is Mike Evans, but he's got a similar frame. He wins in similar ways. Let's see what happens. Let's let Bryce throw it up to him. You know, he's got some trees on the outside now.
To add to that point, Dave Canales is very close with Pete Carroll's son, who is on the Arizona staff. And so he's got like familiarity and insight that other people wouldn't have. And Dave Canales is a former wide receivers coach. So you've got that working, in addition to him being a quarterback whisperer of sorts and resurrecting Bryce Young. So Chris, you had said it earlier. I don't know if we were recording when you said it, but you were talking about Panther stacks and how cheap they are. And that's just, I love prime example.
Even Chuba, man, like you could get Chuba, I think round 5. We were talking about that earlier today. Round 5 ADP on Underdog. I love Chuba, man. That's a smash at current ADP. I love the Panthers right now as a cheap stack option. They're fun, man. They're going to have a surprising year, I think. And that's a division that's just conducive for shootout games, right?
So many points.
So there's going to be a lot of points put up in the NFC South this year. How about that 2023 rookie class, though, man? Quarterbacks. Yeah. What about fall offs, dude? Like Stroud, we just talked about, had a big fall off. Bryce Young is still, you know, he's still maintaining a little bit of value there. Obviously, we're all bullish on him. Levis he's free. You know, he's not doing anything.
He's got the gravestone sticking out, man.
Richardson, I don't even think is going to have his job, because Vanilla Vic is coming in and taking it. Man, Bryce Young has to be the highlight. He needs to be for all of our sakes.
I think Stroud is still okay. Stroud is okay. I mean,
we'll see.
His value went down. I mean,
that's another one. They're putting more talent around him.
People had expectations that were just out of this world after
I just wish they would have built his lineup more, man. That offensive line needed some work, and there's like, let's just throw more wide receivers at them. They'll figure it out.
Stephon Diggs.
Well, I mean, that's the answer. It's not getting better either, because they lost Will Fries to you're talking about Colts, right?
No, Stroud.
Oh, Yeah, I
But
mean,
they traded Collins.
I'm sorry. I thought y'all were talking about Anthony Richardson
We're
for a
talking
second.
about them all day. I mean, I hate Anthony
But
Richardson. Everybody knows that.
no,
So.
yeah, their offensive line, the Texans did address it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be very good.
Yeah, that's my biggest pause with Stroud. That's another one. We're talking about buying and selling. I'm not running out to buy Stroud right now. You know, there's going to be more opportunity to buy him, I think, in the future.
Yeah, until they fully address the offensive line, or if this play caller, their new offensive coordinator, that's another thing. They're changing offensive coordinator. So we're going into a completely uncertain environment. True. Like now is not the time to buy CJ Stroud, is what we're all trying to say.
Yep.
Like, you will have ample opportunity to do so shortly, unless you just want to overpay, because people who have him aren't going to let him go for cheap, and people who want to acquire him aren't willing to go that extra mile because of the uncertainty.
Yeah, that's a good point too, man. I found situations like this don't really lower the price for a guy like Stroud. It just actually opens up a real legit buy window for him.
Yeah,
I have confidence in him. I mean, you guys make great points about the offensive line. Yeah, I think he'll bounce back.
NFL player.
Yeah.
He's a really good actual NFL player. It's just that for fantasy, there's a very small window to where he can matter, and he has to be prolific as a passer.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely some pause there on the overall Stroud value, but we'll see how it ultimately lands. I've been talking about it a lot in Discord and chats and stuff, but my biggest concern right now is that there's about 20 or so quarterbacks that I want to jam into the top 12, and it's just not going to happen. There's a lot of guys that we're excited about, and if we're talking about guys we aren't excited about, it's definitely Stroud. I think he stands to lose the most value in the next 12 months, unfortunately, because there's a lot of guys that are up and coming, and they're going to jump him in the rankings, I think, depending on how
there's more coming down in the pipeline, as we know.
Yeah.
As we know. Stay tuned for 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. Lenoris, I can't wait.
Please be in the 27 class, Lenoris.
I definitely don't want to get out of here, though, without talking about one guy. Speaking of trusting your training, I have famously been a frenemy of Chev, a troll in the comments. But one guy that we were aligned on coming out of college was Keon Coleman. And I know we wanted to talk a little bit about him today, and I don't want to miss out on that because he's definitely an exciting player. And, normally I take a lot of look at analytics when I'm evaluating guys, and you just got to be honest. He's not an analytics guy, and he's a guy I threw out all the analytics. I said, he's a dog, man. He goes up, he gets the ball, and that's what I like about him. So I'm excited for him still, and there's a buying window for him, certainly. A risky one, of course, but when you're talking about a guy who has an opportunity to be an alpha in the Josh Allen offense, I mean, can you not, I'm not letting him go. I'm letting that one ride out for sure.
Dude, okay. I am thrilled that we are here now. I just sometimes, like you said, sometimes you just gotta turn off the spreadsheets. You gotta get back to your primal nature of what does a guy make you believe about what he's willing to do on a football field with the ball in his hands. And Keon passes that test with flying colors. He's just got that dog in him. Like he's a big guy who is dynamic with the ball in his hands. I think his skill set after, running after the catch is very, very similar to Luther Burden, but he's 6'3" and 215 pounds. He's just creating things out of nothing. And then you add to the fact that he's tremendous at the catch point. And you saw it a little bit in training camp last year. Josh was throwing just the F it, Keon down there somewhere balls, and it works. And you saw it kind of translate. And then you saw a mini, like he was starting to break out, and then wrist injury. And he tells you after the season, I was never really fully recovered from the wrist injury. And the offense was flowing and moving without me. So I just got to get in where I fit in. Now, before that, they were starting to feature him and figure out, hey, we just got to throw it in his general direction. It doesn't have to be really precise. Just so happens that Josh Allen can be like, I'll put it wherever you like. I was all state. I'll make it rain. The Vince Vaughn quote from Wedding Crashers. So you've got a guy in Josh Allen who took that out of his game, but we've seen him hyper target Stephon Diggs. This is a completely different receiver than Stephon Diggs. He's not going to create separation, but you can throw it at the back of the DB's helmet and about 8.5 feet off the ground, and he'll jump and go get it over whoever. So I love Keon Coleman.
I'm still high on him because he's not a yards per route run analytics guy. He's not a separation guy, but he's going to go up there and dog you and get the ball. You know, he's going to jump over those shorter defenders and get the ball. I wouldn't be shocked to see like an 800-yard, like 15 touchdown season out of him in his future, because he's going to be a red zone guy. Obviously, they signed Shakir, and Shakir's got his own things to do on the field out of the slot. He's going to be the steady, reliable target. But we're talking about Kincaid hasn't really developed like we thought he would. We've seen Dawson Knox be that red zone guy in the past for Josh Allen. I think Keon, you know, once we start getting down to the 30, the 20, you know, Josh Allen might be targeting this guy, especially with a nice year of off-season training. Maybe, you know, the wrist injuries behind him now. I'm looking forward to the future with him. He's just exciting, man. He's so fun to watch.
I mean, the vision is still there, right? Like we're all talking about it right now. Josh Allen, big arm. He's eventually going to put on the cape, no matter how much they want to, you know, taper him down. There's going to be times where they're going to ask Josh Allen to go win the game. And how does he do that? He's going to throw it up to a guy that he's confident in. He's got a literal power forward out there, like a power forward from Michigan State at one point, out there playing wide receiver. So no, he's not getting the separation that I typically look for. But when you're able to win above the rim like that at the catch point, that's all you need, especially with a quarterback like Josh Allen. And I mean, look, I comped him pre-draft to a Brandon Marshall. I would say a rookie Brandon Marshall, the 5th round pick Brandon Marshall, explosive with the ball in his hand. Yeah, he ran a 4.6 140. I don't care what those numbers say, because actual football with pads on, he's much faster than that. He's not a track athlete. I don't know if his get off was a little off on the 40-yard dash, but I've seen him play much faster with pads on. So not
his 10-yard splits are faster than a lot of 4.4 receivers. So he's got that quick burst too. So he might not have the long speed or the 40 time, but he's still shifty in small spaces.
I have it. I see it now. He could be on like a Kenny Golladay career arc.
I like that. Hopefully for a longer time.
Hopefully for longer, for sure. But like the skill sets, I think the way that he won and the way that Kenny Golladay won, I think that Keon could, if they choose to use him that way, he could win down the field in those contested catches, in breakers, where Josh Allen just puts the ball on his face mask and then he holds. Like you're not going to be able to reach through him to get to the ball because he's such a like massive human being, you know. So I think that Kenny Golladay with Matthew Stafford, that connection is what we could see develop.
That's a good comp.
That makes me really, really excited. And plus, the biggest thing for me is he's not like any of the other receivers that they have in Buffalo.
No.
Even as they add like Josh Palmer and, you know, he's different from all these other guys. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a unique skill set to where if Josh Allen gets in trouble and he gets the notion in his mind that I can just throw it to Keon, if we get 120 targets for Keon somehow, there's no way that he's not a top 24 wide receiver.
Absolutely. And Lord knows what's going to happen with James Cook. I mean, Ray Davis is a great running back, but you know, all those, what do you have, 16 touchdowns last year? If they take that off the plate because he decides I'm just going to get this contract and sit out till they pay me, there's going to have to be somebody else, you know, looking for touchdowns in the red zone there. So they might change the game plan up a little bit.
Last one, Dez Bryant.
I like Dez Bryant comp too.
Like the way that he got there with Tony Romo, right? They're throwing the back shoulders. They're throwing like the smokes and letting them run.
Corner of the end zone.
Yeah. He's a dog in the red zone. Could you see it playing out somewhere like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's like ceiling outcome, but yeah.
Yeah, ceiling outcome for sure. I mean, Dez scored 72 freaking touchdowns. Like that would be a wonderful. That would be phenomenal if we got that.
Right. I was
great career for sure. Yeah, he's a guy that I don't even know if it's trusting the training. It's just trusting my gut. You know, if I had him on Devy rosters and I have him on my dynasty rosters now, I'm not selling for nothing. Man.
No, trust your training. That final year at Florida State was phenomenal.
It was cut short because Jordan Travis broke his leg.
Yeah. Undefeated season cut short. How sad.
That whole.
I'll always think what could have been. Really what could have been for them.
Tough.
Yeah.
Well, I think it wraps it up. We are at a minute or 5 minutes over an hour. I know we're trying to keep it around now, so we appreciate you, Chev. You're the first ever Devy Dojo guest, the legend Devy ball knower. We love having you on. Absolutely. Always.
Well, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be a part of this, to be the first guest. I mean, I've watched you guys work to get this operation going. So super proud of you guys. And I'm always welcome. I'm always open to come on. So if you'll have me, I'll be back whenever you need me.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to try to do some watch parties and things in our Discord as the college football season comes upon us, even maybe on August 30th, the week 1 games that we're also excited about. So we might have to have you on for one of those.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Perfect. Well, thank both of you. I appreciate it, of course, and looking forward to getting this one out there for the people. Trust your training, everybody. If there's a reason that you like the guy coming out, you should be hanging on and finding those buying opportunities when you can.
Before we leave, Chev, let the people know where they can find you and what you've got cooking.
It's so there's a lot. If you want to see all of it, go to my Twitter X. It's at Chev90. There's a link tree, the Quantum of Chevis, and that's all the stuff. And then coming here soon, we're launching FFD Redraft. So I'll be, heading that up. So you'll see a lot of this old man face over there making content and stuff. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we loved having you on, man. You dropped some of that certified black belt ball knowledge on us today. So, like I said before, man, you're always welcome here. Anytime.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, everybody, if you're listening and haven't already, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Hop in the Discord, Empire Elite. It will actually be pinned with this video. So just look in the description and you'll be able to see that. Click it, follow us, join the dojo. We'll see you next time.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com.